Lando Norris is one of the most talented young drivers on the grid, winning the Formula 3 title on the very first attempt and then finishing second in Formula 2 in his first full season. 2018 Formula 2 was a stacked year as well, with George Russell finishing ahead of Lando and then Alex Albon and Nick de Vries being third and fourth. Lots of talent who are all now in Formula 1. In 2019 he became a full-time driver for McLaren, having previously been their reserve and test driver. Good results have been few and far between, sadly, owing to the McLaren car though, rather than Lando himself. He's been incredibly consistent over the years, and he's certainly outshined Daniel Ricciardo in the last few years. He's had multiple podiums with McLaren, but he's sadly never stood on the top step, with a win currently evading him. But he got oh so close at the 2021 Russian Grand Prix, leading the race until the rain came and he chose to stay out. As it happens, it was the wrong call and it cost him the win. It still causes me pain to this day thinking about it. In 2022, McLaren's car wasn't all that bad, with some good performances for Lando, and he ended up finishing 7th in the championship behind the two Mercs, Red Bulls and Ferraris. But this year hasn't started well. The team have openly admitted they didn't hit their targets with the 2023 car, and they're pinning their hopes on a big upgrade coming in the first 5 races or so, that Lando said should have been on the car to start the season. You could argue that Lando was already the leader of the team, with Danny Ric having struggled the past few years. Lando was the one putting in the results and presumably offering good feedback on the direction of the car. That is now even more the case with Oscar Piastri in the second seat, simply because he's a rookie and it's his first season in Formula 1. Lando is committed to McLaren. In fact, he signed a long-term deal with the team before his previous one had even expired. Before the Monaco Grand Prix in 2001, the one with the epic McLaren Gulf livery, Lando signed a contract extension until the end of 2023. Then, before the 2022 season had even begun, he signed an extension until the end of 2025, which a lot of people questioned. They wondered why would he sign another long-term deal right before a season with huge regulation changes and without knowing where McLaren even sat in the order. People questioned it at the time, but Lando was pretty dismissive of the criticism. He said, "The thing with Formula 1 is that you can be the best driver in the world and not be in the best car, and that is through no fault of your own." Lewis Hamilton came into McLaren when they were winning championships and winning races, and from the beginning, that makes you look good. If he came into McLaren now, he wouldn't have won a race, and wouldn't have been anywhere near the driver he is today, or achieved what he has today. But if someone says crap about me, then cool, I'll laugh it off and move on, big deal. A few years ago, I probably would have taken it a bit more to heart. Lando is a big talent. Any top team would absolutely consider him for a seat should the opportunity arise. But with him now having a contract until 2025, it's looking like he's going to really have to hope that McLaren can get on top of their issues quickly so he can start fighting at the front. McLaren's new wind tunnel will be finished next year, but it will be the year after before they'll really see any benefit from it on their car. There is also rumours that McLaren are in talks with Honda for 2026, which is interesting considering we all know how it went last time. But after departing McLaren, Honda became world champions with Red Bull, so clearly their engine is now one of the best in Formula 1. There are huge engine changes coming in 2026 though, with a focus on sustainable fuels, so it's no guarantee that Honda would still be one of the top dogs in 3 years' time. And will Lando even still be there? Let's say Lewis Hamilton says enough is enough and decides he doesn't want to carry on in Formula 1, racing in the midfield, and says, I'm retiring at the end of 2023. Who would replace him? I would say Lando would be pretty high up on the list when it comes to candidates, although there's an issue. Supposedly, according to Andreas Seidel, who while now at Sauber was the McLaren team boss at the time, there are no get-out clauses in the Lando contract. Now, usually in sports with drivers or footballers, there are certain clauses that allow a driver or a team to break it, such as you'll be allowed to leave if we drop below a certain position in the constructors, or we don't win a race in an X amount of races, or perhaps if a certain offer is made for you, we're obliged to bring you this offer and give you the opportunity to leave. There are lots of ways that a contract can potentially be broken. Apparently, though, none of those exist with Lando's contract with McLaren, which I think would be a huge oversight by Lando, or he simply believes entirely in the project and really didn't think he needed one. Andreas Seidel said, "The beauty of this new agreement we have in place is that there are no get-outs on both sides, which is an important message that we wanted to give the team as well. That shows we're in this together and there's a strong belief from both sides. From our side in the talent Lando is, but at the same time from Lando's side in believing that we can actually get there in the next few years. Maybe there is a clause in there somewhere, or maybe there isn't. I'd certainly expect there to be, but Seidel seemed very confident there wasn't. I remember thinking that George Russell was a talent that needed a top team, propping up the back of the grid in the Williams. It's not quite that bad for Lando with McLaren, but I'd love to see him fighting with the likes of Charles Leclerc and Max Verstappen. Perhaps Mercedes could be an option in the next few years if Lewis retires, although with the way Mercedes are going, would that move even be any better? Of course, Red Bull would be an ideal team to join if you were Lando, but would they want him? Supposedly talks have taken place over the years, but not serious ones, more like feelers. A Lando and Max combination, though, could be particularly interesting. And I do think Lando would get a lot closer to Max than his previous teammates, even Perez currently. That being said, the most logical choice is surely Audi. Sauber are currently running the Alfa Romeo F1 team, but Audi have reached an agreement with Sauber for them to become their works team from 2026. Audi were inclined to join the sport in large part due to the engine changes for 2026. This is a huge boost for Formula One, with Audi of course having the backing of the VW group. I mentioned earlier that the previous McLaren team boss, Andreas Seidel, left McLaren to join Sauber, becoming their motorsport CEO. Audi claim this had nothing to do with them and the agreement with Sauber for 2026. But you read between the lines. Either way, when the team does transition to Audi, there is no guarantee who their driver pairing will be. Currently, the two Alfa Romeo drivers are Valtteri Bottas and Zhou Guanyu, with Zhou currently having a contract until the end of the season, and Bottas supposedly having a 3-year deal, which started in 2022. This means the team could very well be in the driver market in 2026 for the Audi takeover, and perhaps Lando could find himself knocking on the door. The truth is, though, he's stuck with McLaren so that he can benefit from the work he's put in. Even if McLaren don't get toward the front of the grid this year, which of course is unlikely, Lando's obviously hoping that all this knowledge, they can get there in the next couple of years, especially with the improvements of their facilities and their wind tunnel. He's committed to this project because he thinks it will work, and he spent so much time and energy on it, I really hope that it does. It's not going to be easy though. McLaren have shown a lot of weaknesses, especially in pre-season testing. They had a problem with the car that reduced their running quite significantly, and it was around the brake duct area, which is a similar area they had a problem at Barcelona testing the year before, which absolutely ruined their test. There are obviously issues with the team, especially when it comes to manufacturing and assembling that car, that go deeper than just design choices. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have, like and subscribe. And I'd like to hear what you think about Lando Norris and which team he should go to in the comments below. I'll see you next time.